Wahhabi and I hate you. The young man's mouth was red, the sound was angrily throttling, and the hands were trembling. He was standing in front of me, and I was feeling I would open his mouth and attack me. I had two options: I quietly turn right to the left or start talking to him. I chose the other way. I'm a coward. I always refrain from fighting for no reason. If someone disagrees with me, or is abused too little, I don't argue with him. I don't even get to explain my point of view. I apologize immediately and go ahead. My friends and my loved ones don't like this attitude. They often ask me, why don't you answer? Why don't you explain? I urge them. There is doubt in our society and intensity. Most of us are merely based on doubt, and later turn to that opinion. None of us bother to look at the other side of the mountain. We have 22 million people in our country. All of them have created their own Islam, and they not only understand this Islam right but also try to enforce it on others. I would also like to increase the heat of society. If we join this sheet trick, at least we should establish the traditions of endurance in society. We must respect the views of others. What's wrong with asking for a compromise if they are suffering from my thoughts? But that day I decided to argue with the young man. Unlike my nature and cowardice, I asked him, how are you understanding me? Wahhabi to date, I am sitting in a council of Wahhabis. I have read any of their literature to this day, nor have I filled out any of their ideas. The low of his eyes went high. He said, by the go, you are lying. Your father was a world of Wahhabis. He made a course of Wahhabis. It was also a teacher at the Wahhabis seminary, and you are taking pensions from the Wahhabis. After his death I barely took the laughter, and asked the young man, son, my father was illiterate. How could he read it and make a course for a school of thought? How could these books write? He could come. For a moment he looked to the right, left, and spoke out loud, saying, didn't it be your father? I laughed and replied, everyone? No way, my father's name was it. He left and called a cleric, and asked, isn't this your brother? I said, not at all. He took a long breath and said, that means I was told wrong. I shook my head and asked him, who told you that he was getting normal? He breathed long and said, a friend of mine told. But Ether, he said, you are Wahhabi and you do the focus of their beliefs. I read the apology and said to him, my brother, you would confirm to me. He gave him a very interesting answer. He said, I think it's a sin to talk to the Wahhabis. I asked him, son, what do you do? He replied, I'm doing my quote. I laughed, got my hands with him, and walked ahead. It's not just a young man's tragedy. Every other in the country, but every first person suffers from the same mental situation in our country. 3 major psychological changes have come. The first change, the attitude of the people about development, has changed 25 years ago. Today, people considered progress as heroes. People appreciated it. If someone succeeded in business, if someone had topped the board, parents would give their children an example of it, and someone would have become chairman of the district council with a councillor level, so people would have made it named for him. They also considered ideal, but in the last 25-30 years success in this country has become abusive. Most people in the country now see successful people in a bad view. Happy people in the country are hated. Take a new car. Someone is eating at a 5-star hotel, wearing good dress, making a new home, or someone going out of the country. People don't understand it. Well, this trend is wrong, but I do not mind the general public. It is the result of this overall political situation in our country. In the last 30 years, number of people have come up in every field. Seeing them, people have begun to successfully hate. Despite this fact, this is the fact that behavior is wrong, because when recovery or development in a society becomes abusive, the growth of this society stops. This society does not get new leaders. The second change is doubtful. Our whole country has suffered from a psychological disorder of doubt. We all see others with suspicious eyes, decorate us with others, pray for others, Hajj and others' oaths also feel false. We see others' beards, jaws and demands with doubt. We also feel the faith of others wrong, and we also doubt the intention of every other person. Of course, this disease has given us faith. The pillars of our trust have been crushed, and we no longer believe in a person and an institution. And the third change is intense. Our society has intensified. Most of us are not listening to others. We are deciding to the faith and faith of others ourselves. You blame someone in the country and make him famous. Call someone Shiite, Sunni, or Wahhabi. Call someone American, Jewish or Indian agent. Call someone Arashi, a wicked or a hypocrite, or drive someone on someone's payroll. People will not only believe it, but also this nonsense spreading forward will understand its duty, and so the person must have become famous all over the country by night, and the person who arrives will make it part of his belief, and if you make a mistake of correcting it, he will attack you, and attack you will give. This trend is not healthy in any way. Human history tells a nation that when this kind of intensity arose, the dialogue stopped, and where dialogue stopped, the process of creation was jammed, and where creative process jammed, the wind stopped progress, and in the end the whole society was bomb-graded, or rioted. You believe we are going through the same process? Hat has grown so much in our society that each of us is ready to kill another on minor differences. You street, road talk to someone in the market or a shopping center, and see that person will hug you. You will be willing to tear your head to mark someone's fault on the road. This intensity, this hat is the real tragedy of this society. This is the spark that is sometimes igniting in the form of religious differences, sometimes visible in the streets in response to the load shedding of electricity and gas. Sometimes it appears in response to inflation, and sometimes warms up the political fronts. I wish our government, our society should focus on the intensity, because it is the pile of dynamite on which the whole crop of roses is grown. Even if the torso of death remains, the fear of death keeps being pinned into the leaves of roses.